He laughed while my son cried. I stood there, the checkbook still open in my hand as my brother sipped champagne on my couch and said, "Why should your nerd kid matter more than our romance?" My son Ben was in the next room. He'd saved every brochure, practiced interviews in the mirror, counted down the days to apply to Caltech. But now his college fund? Gone. Swiped. By blood. My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever realized your family was more loyal to a thief than to you? I hadn't planned to confront Michael that day. I was just dropping off Dad's meds like I always did. But I noticed the missing check first. Then the transaction alert. $28,400. Gone in one swipe. I froze. Ben's fund was in a separate account, locked tight, untouched for 5 years. But Michael had access through a joint emergency trustee agreement Dad insisted on, just in case. My mistake? Trusting that just in case wouldn't turn into just because. Michael? He looked me in the eye and said it like a joke. I mean, it was Paris. I had to impress her. And anyway, Ben's a smart kid, he'll figure something out. I couldn't speak. The betrayal hit harder than the words. But it got worse. Because when I told my parents, when I begged them to hold him accountable, my mother clutched her pearls and hissed, "Danielle, we're a family. We support each other. Don't be selfish." Selfish. I gave up my promotion 3 years ago to take care of Dad when Michael was too busy. I cooked for them every Sunday. Covered utilities when their pensions fell short. I was the safety net no one saw, until they needed to jump. Ben walked into the kitchen holding the Caltech folder. He heard enough. His face collapsed. Like his future had slipped through his fingers and shattered on the tile. I didn't scream. I didn't plead. I just whispered, "Go pack, Ben. We're not staying here tonight." That night I stared at my ceiling in the motel room. My son asleep beside me, his backpack clutched like a lifeline. And in the silence, a seed of something cold and precise began to bloom. They called me selfish. But they were about to learn what a selfish woman is. When she stops asking for permission and starts writing her own rules. Storm was coming. And it would arrive one email at a time. The first message I sent was to Caltech's admissions office. Not to plead, I'm done pleading, but to explain. I told them what happened. I attached documents. Bank statements. My brother's signature on the withdrawal. A notarized letter from my attorney confirming the funds had been intended solely for my son's education since he was 12. I didn't ask for pity. I asked for a second chance. A review committee extension for late applications. Ben didn't know I'd sent it. I needed him to believe again before I let hope break him twice. While he studied quietly at the corner table in the motel's breakfast nook, I opened my laptop and went to work. My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever felt your spine straighten from rage so pure it became purpose? I wasn't just a single mom. I was a systems analyst with 15 years in corporate compliance and data architecture. Which meant I didn't just know where to look. I knew how to dismantle without leaving fingerprints. Michael had used my son's college fund for a spontaneous 10-day trip with his girlfriend, Lindsay, the influencer with fake freckles and an obsession with matching outfits. I'd never liked her. But now, she was the key. So I started building a dossier. I tracked her posts. Mapped timelines. Found receipts she didn't even realize she'd posted. I compared timestamps, scraped metadata, triangulated their movements. My brother had used not just my son's money, he'd also borrowed from Dad's prescription account. Nearly $2,000 in health reimbursements used on designer bags and a spa suite in the 16th arrondissement. That was the second email, to Dad's insurance provider. The third? To Lindsay's brand sponsors. See, one of them was a vegan skincare company with a strict sustainability policy. But guess who had a steak tartare tutorial on TikTok? In their gifted serum hoodie? I crafted anonymous tips. Attached screenshots. Quietly, methodically, without flair. Just a scalpel of truth. By the time I picked Ben up from the library that night, Lindsay had lost 2 partnerships. Ben said softly in the car, "It's okay, Mom. I'll apply somewhere else. I'll take a gap year maybe." I smiled because I couldn't cry. Not now. Not when the wheels were already turning. Michael had built his whole life on the illusion of success. Perfect girlfriend. Job offer from a prestige firm. Family golden boy. But what he didn't know was this. While he was feeding his ego, I was feeding a system. One designed to collapse at just the right moment. All I needed was one more day. Because revenge isn't loud. It's quiet, surgical, and patient enough to wait for the perfect bleed. Michael called me 2 days later. He didn't ask about Ben. Didn't apologize. Just launched into a loud, performative speech. You really sent that email to Bluecore Capital? You know I worked 3 years to land that offer. What the hell is wrong with you, Danielle? I didn't say a word. I let him shout. Let him fill the silence with his arrogance. Because when a man believes he's untouchable, every stumble feels like the earth betraying him. My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever watched a liar squirm beneath the weight of their own lies? Bluecore hadn't just canceled his offer. They'd opened an internal ethics review. Turns out, someone submitted a detailed complaint about misuse of family funds and a potential civil dispute tied to theft. Those phrases are mine. Crafted over coffee at 3 a.m. while Ben slept beside me, unaware that I was rebuilding his future one line of code and evidence at a time. You see, Michael didn't realize how vulnerable he was until the money stopped flowing. His credit card started declining because I froze the joint custodial account he'd been siphoning from. Our late father had set it up when we were kids, meant for emergencies. I hadn't touched it since Dad passed. But Michael had. Dozens of times. All legal moves. All traceable. The 4th email I sent? To our family's tax attorney. With attachments. Including Michael's little gifts to Lindsay, things he never reported, never claimed. I gave it all to the right people in the right order. But the final blow came when Lindsay found out. See, she'd posted a gushing video about Michael on her YouTube channel just days before. He's my forever person, she said. No secrets between us. So I sent her a little folder. No message. Just screenshots of Michael's text exchanges with another woman from his office. The one he drunkenly sent my way once, thinking I was a friend. He forgot I never deleted anything. Lindsay went silent for 12 hours. Then boom, a public Instagram story. I don't tolerate cheaters. Or liars. Or men who build castles on other people's pain. He tagged Michael. Then blocked him. He called me again, this time begging. You win, okay? Are you happy now? But this wasn't about winning. This was about justice. About a kid with honors classes and perfect attendance crying alone in a motel because his family failed him. I told Michael, there's one more email coming. You might want to check your bank tomorrow. Then I hung up and drove to the post office with Ben. We mailed off one envelope, Caltech supplemental form with my notarized letter. I didn't tell Ben yet. Because I wanted him to learn something deeper than revenge. That dignity is quiet. And so is power. But that doesn't mean it's weak. Sometimes it just waits. Until the mirror cracks. The next morning I heard it. A scream echoing down the hallway of my apartment building. My brother's voice, desperate and unhinged, bouncing off the drywall outside my door. Danielle. Open the damn door. My son looked up from his cereal. I calmly walked over, locked the deadbolt tighter and closed the blinds. Let him stand out there and feel what silence tastes like. My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever watched someone so smug finally realize they're not in control anymore? See, the final email I sent wasn't just to the bank. It was to our father's probate lawyer. Turns out, Dad had made me co-executor of the small family trust. The one my brother always assumed he'd control one day. But Michael never read the paperwork. Never asked questions. He just assumed I'd never touch anything. That I'd stay in my lane. The quiet daughter, the single mom with too much empathy and not enough boundaries. So when I filed to officially revoke Michael's access pending fraud investigation, the lawyer didn't even flinch. He said, "Took you long enough." And just like that, Michael's accounts were flagged. His spending patterns cross-checked. The lawyer froze every cent tied to the trust until the matter could be resolved in court. Which in plain English meant, good luck buying gas this week. Michael's perfect image, the loyal son, the brilliant fiancé, the startup star, had cracked. Now he was a man standing barefoot in the hallway of my apartment complex, screaming like a child who just learned the world doesn't owe him peace. He left eventually. 2 hours later my mom called. "Oh Danielle, what did you do? Michael said you're ruining his life." I stared at the phone like it was a wasp I didn't feel like swatting. Did you ask him why? I replied. Her voice softened into the tone she used when guilt was a weapon. You've always been sensitive. You know your brother doesn't mean harm. Family forgives. Family helps. I almost laughed. Help? Like how I helped pay her mortgage the year after Dad died. Or how I skipped medications so Ben could finish AP Physics with the laptop he needed while Michael sipped mimosas in Miami. I took a deep breath and said, Mom, tell Michael he has 7 days to respond to the civil complaint. After that, I take it public. She gasped. You wouldn't. But I already had the draft ready. A full exposé, screenshots, timelines, receipts. Ready to send to every client he ever bragged about. I would, I said calmly. I would for Ben. Because this isn't about me being vengeful. It's about protecting a son who did everything right, and got punished for being born into the wrong family. And for once I wasn't asking for anyone's permission. Because some storms don't come to destroy. They come to clear a path. On Friday morning, Ben knocked on my door with a letter in his trembling hand. Mom, it came. I took it slowly. My fingers brushed the Caltech seal. For a second, the room tilted sideways. I had waited so long for something to go right for him. He watched me like a child waiting for a verdict that could shatter or rebuild everything. I opened it. And then I cried. I cried hard. Not because they said yes, but because they wrote that they still wanted him, even though he missed the deadline. Due to exceptional circumstances and faculty advocacy, we are honored to offer Benjamin Ellis a place in the freshman class. I held my son. Just held him. My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever felt guilt burn so deep inside you that even justice couldn't rinse it clean? That moment should have been perfect. But all I could think was, I almost failed him. I almost let my silence give cowards power. Ben whispered, I didn't think they'd still take me. I cupped his face. Baby, you earned this. I just cleared the noise so they could hear you. I didn't tell him about the professor who remembered his science fair presentation from 2 years ago. The one I emailed late at night with Ben's updated scores and the story of what happened. I didn't tell him about the secretary who sent a personal note. He sounds like the kind of mind we need. I just let him smile. I let him feel like the world hadn't closed its doors. But while Ben was packing up his dreams with cautious hope, Michael's world kept unraveling. He texted me that evening. You ruined me. Lindsay's dad pulled his funding. I can't even get into my office. I read it in silence. Then deleted it. He wanted sympathy. Let him ask the 17-year-old he stole from. I got a call the next morning from a journalist I knew from a tech magazine. One of those accidental contacts who owed me a favor from a data leak I fixed for them years ago. Still want to publish that story? She asked. I almost said no. But then I saw the credit card email. The one that showed my mother tried to use Ben's frozen education card to book a spa day for herself. And I knew, this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about cutting the roots of rot before they grew back. So I said yes. And sent everything. Emails. Transfers. Receipts. Texts. Even a short voice memo Ben had recorded months ago saying, I hope one day I don't have to choose between medicine and dinner. The journalist was silent for a moment. Then, he deserves better. I'll get this out by Monday. And just like that, the story had a heartbeat. By the time Sunday came around, it wasn't just Michael's name unraveling. It was the whole family's illusion of goodness. Because the truth? It doesn't scream. It seeps. One crack at a time. By Monday at noon, the article was everywhere. Family ties and fraud. How a promising student lost his future to fund his uncle's vacation. That was the headline. But it was the subtext that did the real damage. A mother's silence finally ends. Her son's stolen dreams become national outrage. My phone buzzed nonstop. Friends, strangers, former classmates, even one of my old bosses. All of them saying the same thing. We had no idea. We're so sorry. Is there a way to help? My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever felt like the world finally turned its head toward your pain, but only after you stopped begging? I watched the story gain traction like wildfire. Reddit threads, TikToks, news segments, people reposting Ben's high school achievements, his essay, his face. They called him the boy who got robbed by his own blood. But I called him my reason. The fallout was immediate. Michael's company removed his bio from their site. His LinkedIn was swarmed with furious comments. Investors issued formal statements. His engagement broken within 24 hours. Lindsay's father issued a tweet that made me choke on my coffee. We do not condone theft, nor do we tolerate men who build futures on the backs of family betrayal. The engagement is off. Permanently. Poetic. Swift. Brutal. Michael tried to do damage control, of course. He went on a live stream claiming I overreacted and that the money was going to be paid back. But people don't forget screenshots. They don't forget. Why should your nerd kid matter more than our romance? I didn't even have to respond. The internet did it for me. And my parents? They finally called. But it wasn't to apologize. Danielle, you've humiliated us, my mother hissed through the line. We had to change our number, Dad added. We're being harassed. I stared at the phone like it was a bug I refused to squash. I lost my job because of this, she sobbed. Do you understand what you've done? Yes, I said calmly. I told the truth. But you could have handled this in private. You mean like you handled stealing from your grandson in private? I snapped. Silence. Then bitterly, you'll regret this one day. Family is everything. No, I said, voice like glass. Integrity is everything. Ben is everything. I hung up. Blocked them both. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood at the window and watched the sun rise, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. Because for the first time I wasn't cleaning up after them. I wasn't the family's emotional garbage disposal. I was done. And in the ruins they left behind, something new was blooming. Something fierce. Something called justice. They say blood is thicker than water. But sometimes blood turns to poison. And the only antidote is walking away. That week I changed our numbers. Updated every emergency contact. Called Caltech and had Ben's new mailing address sent to me directly. He'd be living on campus. Fresh start. No family shadows. My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever rebuilt your life not out of ambition, but out of necessity? Because that's what it felt like. Like dragging your soul through glass just to breathe clean air again. Ben and I packed together. He folded his shirts like he used to when he was 10, tongue peeking out the corner of his mouth, focused. I watched him slip his new Caltech ID badge into his wallet like it was the most precious thing on earth. Do you think I deserve this? He asked quietly. I turned. You think you don't? He shrugged. Dad left. Grandpa called me ungrateful. Uncle Mike stole from me. Sometimes I think maybe I'm the problem. My heart cracked. No, baby, I said, pulling him close. You were just the mirror. You showed them who they really are. That's why they broke you. He nodded, pressing his forehead to my shoulder. I'm scared. Good, I whispered. That means you're about to do something brave. That night I sent one final message, not to them. To everyone who followed the story, who sent money, who offered encouragement. We're okay now. Ben got in. We don't want pity, just peace. Thank you for seeing us. And then I shut off the noise. Because there's a power in silence. The kind that rebuilds you. 2 days before Ben's orientation I got a knock on my door. It was a courier. He handed me a thin navy envelope. Embossed with silver. U.S. Department of Justice. I opened it slowly. It was confirmation. The IRS and a fraud unit had opened a formal investigation into the joint account my parents had managed on Ben's behalf. The education account Michael had borrowed from. Apparently, several transfers violated federal custodial fund laws. They weren't just unethical. They were illegal. And since Michael had included screenshots of repayment plans in panicked emails to my mother, they'd all implicated each other. The investigation had teeth. I didn't rejoice. I didn't celebrate. I just sat down and exhaled. Let the weight go. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about restoration. Ben and I left for Caltech the next day. I watched him walk toward the admissions building with his shoulders squared and eyes full of cautious fire. He turned once to wave. I waved back. And just like that he stepped into his future, without the chains of family debt, guilt, or betrayal weighing him down. Me. I stepped back into my own life. No more overdrafts. No more skipped meds. No more pretending loyalty and love are the same thing. They're not. Love nourishes. Loyalty in a toxic family just drains. 2 months passed. Leaves began to fall. And for once so did the noise. No more calls from my parents. No sudden visits. No Michael knocking on the door with fake apologies wrapped in empty charm. My name is Danielle. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because sometimes, the silence after the storm is the loudest part of the story. Ben sent me his first midterm scores. Straight A's. He was thriving. He joined the robotics team. Made friends with a few awkward, brilliant minds like his. He even FaceTimed me to show off the ramen noodles they'd hacked into a gourmet dish using nothing but a hot plate and a borrowed rice cooker. I think I'm okay now, he said one night, voice soft. I think I finally feel like I belong somewhere. I smiled through the screen. You always belonged. They just convinced you otherwise. Me. I went back to work part-time. Got back on my medication regularly. Even joined a grief support group. Not for losing a person to death, but for losing people who were very much alive. Because losing your family while they still breathe, that's a grief no one prepares you for. But there was healing too. In tiny things. Cooking for just one. Folding blankets. Not flinching at the sound of a phone buzz. Then one evening I got an email from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Michael had been indicted formally. Misuse of custodial funds. Wire fraud. Intent to deceive. The trial was scheduled for March. The amount taken? $83,000. Not just from Ben's fund, but several others. My nieces. A neighbor's child. Even a friend of my father's. Turns out, I wasn't the only one Michael stole from. I forwarded the news to Ben. He just replied with a single sentence. Maybe now he'll learn what debt really feels like. Lindsay never came back. She started a blog called Almost Married a Narcissist. She thanked me publicly for speaking up, saying it gave her the courage to walk away. My parents, they sent one last letter. No apology. Just confusion. Denial. The same script. I didn't respond. Because sometimes, silence is the most merciful goodbye you can offer people who refuse to listen when you were screaming. And as the year ended, Ben came home for the holidays. We didn't decorate much. Just one small tree. 2 mugs of cocoa. His robotics trophy on the mantel. He hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for fighting for me." But the truth is, I wasn't just fighting for him. I was fighting for every version of me that stayed quiet too long. That skipped medicine. That begged for love from people who only knew how to take. And when I looked at my son, alive, happy, free, I realized something. They didn't just lose access to my bank account. They lost access to me. To the warmth I gave without conditions. To the support I offered without thanks. And when you use someone like an ATM for years, don't be surprised when one day, the card gets declined,